Jason Hennessy. Welcome to your legal marketing brain trust. Today, I wanted to talk about a very sensitive topic. This is actually a real case study. It happened to one of our clients this week. And it's probably something that most people are not monitoring for. It's called negative SEO. It's one of those things that you're not monitoring it, you can't see it, and then if you can't see it, you can fix it. And so I figured, since this is actually a real case study for us, I would make this a teachable moment for those watching this video, so that you are aware of it, you know the tools that you can use to monitor it, and most importantly is you know how to proactively fix it if it happens to you and your website. All right, so let's make myself a little bit smaller here and we can get right into it. So first of all, what is negative SEO? Negative SEO came in many different shapes and sizes. We see a lot of negative SEO happen on WordPress sites, which, by the way, even though I say like I'm a big fan of WordPress, most of our clients' websites are on WordPress, but you have to make sure that you're keeping the WordPress platform, their CMS, updated with the different plugins and modules and stuff. And so it's critical because if you don't, you might leave like a backdoor entrance open, and people can come in and inject malware. And the next thing that you know, your website, which is a 100-page website, has 5,000 pages that are indexed on Google that talk about Viagra and stuff. And so that's one way that people get attacked with SEO is that way, is not keeping your plugins up to date on WordPress. The other way and others too, but the one that I'm going to talk about is a negative SEO campaign where you're building publishing content, and you're building links, and natural links are coming in, and and all of a sudden you notice something that looks a little different, and you might start to see some really low quality links starting to hit your website in a very rapid fashion, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in this video here. So this is a real client. So if we look back using SEMrush, we can see in April of 2020, last month, that they were ranking for 33,300 keywords. Their traffic cost was $3 million per month. The reason why it was so high is because the website started to gain such authority that it ended up on the first page of Google for very competitive terms like car accident lawyer, car wreck lawyer, things like that. And so that's why it was really, really high. I think it was ranking in position 5 or 6 at one point for some of those terms. And so as I look the following month here, so this is in April, but in May, it dropped down to 30,800 keywords, and the traffic cost dropped by about $1 million per month, which again, I don't really put a whole lot of stock in that because sometimes Google will place you on the first page of Google for terms, and they monitor it, and next thing you know, you end up on page 2, and it could be a difference of like $1 million per month in SEMrush value. So I don't put a whole lot of stock in that. But what's concerning is that we lost 3,000 keywords in the matter of a month. And so this happened right at the same time that Google released a update, right? So it was the May update, and it took place on May 4th. So it's if somebody is going to attack a website, what the perfect time then to attack then when you might not be looking at it, you might just be blaming it on a Google update. So when we notice that drop, one of the first things that we do is, and you can see right over here, like you can see that drop, that little dip. And when you notice that drop, one of the first things they want to start to look at is some of the tools, right? So this is Ahrefs, a great link tool. And so as I started to look at this, I noticed something, right? I noticed that the recurring domains, it looked like there was like larger than hockey stick. It almost looks like rocket ship kind of growth here. And so that had me kind of scratching my head for a second, and I wanted to investigate that a little bit further. And so I noticed that on May 8th, we had 169 referring domains that were linking back to us, which is natural. But then on May 19th, right, 11 days later, we jumped up to 661 referring domains, which does not look natural. Something happened during those 11 days. And so then I can actually click on over here under referring domains. If I click on new, now I can actually see that beginning on, what is that, May 10th, we had 15 links that were published. And on May 11th, we had 57 referring domains that were published that were linking back to us. And then it just, every day for another 58 links, another 40 links, another 20 links, right? And so as I start to look at the quality of these links, one of the things that I notice is that a lot of these links are really spammy, like domain rating of 0, of 8, of 5, right? A lot of these really spammy links. Some of them are on, extensions of different countries, right? And so again, this was still suspicious. So then, what I do is I want to look at both their analytics, and then I also want to look at their search console if we see a dip. And so you can see here historically, as you're publishing more content, the traffic is growing, right? This is per day. This was a period where our developers removed analytics, which was a hiccup on our part, but we fixed it. And then you can see that we were really cranking. This is when we actually redeveloped their website and improved the performance of it, page speed, internal links. And then something happened here, which we were basically blaming it on COVID, right? Because there was less people on the roads, there was less car accidents, which means less people were doing searches, right? And so that's what that dip was. And then over here, there was a Google algorithm update that took place on May 4th, and we noticed like another sharp decline in some of the organic search sessions, right? And so as I look at, now moving from analytics over to Search Console, same stuff, right? So May 4th, we noticed a dip, which we can probably attribute to the update, right? The May 4th update. But then it started to go down even a little bit more. And so, all of the signs are showing me that, yes, there's a Google update, and, we might have seen some ebbs and flows from that. But I think the more important lesson here is that there's somebody that is definitely attacking the website with negative links, and we have to now take action. And again, like I said, this is the perfect time to attack a website because you're not really thinking that the loss of traffic is coming from a negative SEO attack. You're thinking that it's coming in by way of an update, which took place on May 4th. And then on yesterday, which I think was May 18th, Danny Sullivan, the Google search liaison, stated that, the core update is now complete. So now, right, today, May 19th, this is when all of the SEOs really start to kind of go in and start to reverse engineer the winners and the losers and looking at patterns and start to adjust their strategies. So what do we do? What can you do? Well, first of all, you need the tools to be monitoring this stuff, right? And so if you're doing SEO on your own, you want to make sure that you are monitoring this stuff. And if you have an SEO partner, you want to make sure that they're monitoring this stuff for you. And it's not one of those things that you monitor like on an annual basis. Like, at the end of the year, you just kind of go in and you look at all your links. This should be something that you're monitoring, on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. You should be kind of keeping an eye on this because you don't want it to kind of go on for too long without you being aware of it and not being able to take proactive measures to fix it. So how do you fix it? Well, first of all, there's a tool called the disavow tool. This was actually created by Vanessa Fox when she created Search Console back in the day. And, for the longest time, there were people that were complaining like, hey, how do you protect yourself against from people building spammy links to your website? And then Google was like, oh, well, we're smart enough. We were able to detect that stuff. And then it became even more real. And then there was just a large surge in negative SEO for a while. And then they came out with this tool. It's called the disavow tool. And so it's hard to find, actually. The best way to find it is to do a Google search for it. Make sure that you're logged into Search Console, which if you don't have Search Console, that's one of the first action items that I want you to take today, is to make sure that you get yourself set up with Search Console, because that is the only way that Google can have a one-way or two-way conversation with you, where they can tell you all the problems that are happening with your website. They can tell you if the site's been penalized. They can tell you if your site, all of a sudden has a large spike in 404 pages, right? So that's the way that Google can communicate to you. And it's also the way that you can communicate back to Google. So if you have a manual penalty, you can actually submit, a request to, get reinstated. But the disavow, right? So if you do a Google search for just disavow tool, you should be able to find this page. And then way down here where it says go to the disavow link tool page, right? You click on that, and this is where you actually will submit your disavow file. And you want to make sure that you do this correctly. In fact, I'll probably create a video in the future on how to put together a disavow file. But for the sake of this video, which is kind of like the 101 version of making you aware of something called negative SEO and how to proactively fix it, this is the place that you go to actually submit your disavow file. And so once you submit your disavow file, you're basically putting a guard. It's almost like a nightclub and putting a bouncer at the door that's checking IDs and only letting in people that are actually on the list, right? So if certain links are on the list, they get in. And if certain links are not on the list, right, and they're being disavowed, they are not allowed in. And so even though that some of the tools will still pick up on some of these links because they don't see your disavow file, you can sleep at night knowing that Google has a list of these links. So anyway, I hope that this video was informative. As always, if you guys have questions, please post them in the comments below, and I'll be happy to create videos in the future. And again, be very careful of this negative SEO. It's a real thing. In fact, maybe go and take a peek at your own website today just to see if you see anything suspicious. Have a great day.